Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy. And we're going to kind of read it from a couple different perspectives because some people harness high vibe Aquarius energy. They look at life from a higher perspective. They have hope and faith and belief in themselves, in their dreams, in others, in love. And they're able to keep things in perspective. And some people aren't. They get all caught up in their head. They could get caught up in their more shadowy nature of their ego, their fear, their insecurity, their lust, their greed, immature nature, self-indulgent nature, whatever. And it kind of clouds their judgment, and then they can make decisions more out of those reasons that kind of manipulate them. And some other people have worked through those issues that used to manipulate them to not let those things manipulate them in that way anymore. Shadowy Aquarius can be that people are more caught up in themselves and it being more about them and want it to be more about them, or the ego or the image or the status is more what drives them about why they get in certain friendships or relationships or take certain jobs. And the high vibe people want to be in friendships and jobs and relationships with people that there's love there. And it's just and fair, and people are loving and encouraging of each other. But some people are, we have free will and we have to make these decisions in our life. And some people have decided, I don't even want to do love. I get hurt doing love. And I might not want to like connecting in with my emotions. Aquarius is air sign energy. Some people like to live more from their mind than their heart. We're emotionally complex human beings, but some people aren't very connected in with themselves emotionally and don't want to. And some people have had enough experience in life to know that not everyone's motivated and inspired by love, and that some people are much more about themselves and the ego and the image or whatever. So, the Two of Pentacles is the overarching reason for the reading, which is Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil. We've either kind of are more balanced within ourselves, which can be, I do want some of these things of the world. Capricorn is their sign energy. I do want some of these things of the world. We're a human being. We live in the world. We'd like stability, security. We'd like friendships and relationships and jobs. But high vibe people aren't willing to sacrifice that they equally want love, justice, fairness, to be in encouraging and loving environments. And other people are willing to sacrifice those things to have more of the thing, either it be more about them or whatever it is they like to indulge in, or the ego or the image. Some people gave up on their dreams a long time ago of believing in love. And some people are taking action right now more out of pride and ego and how it benefits them, or to try to manipulate and control people because that's how they like to operate in the world. So we have the Knight of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and the Judgment card. Well, some high vibe people decided with the Nine of Pentacles and the Five of Wands to stand up for themselves, to know their worth and value, to get out of their ego about situations in their past that didn't work out the way they wanted, and to accept the truth, because the truth sets us free. I could have been in different friendships, relationships, jobs, whatever. Some of those did work out, and they are working out. We're continuing to move forward, being loving and encouraging, supportive people of each other. And some people, it didn't work out. Some of those people were lovely people, but, people want to be in different friendship groups, have different interests, love other people. High vibe people get out of their ego about it. I accept the truth. I'm moving on. Everybody has free will. Everybody has their decisions that they make of how they live their life. The people in my life who I know are more about themselves, more about indulging themselves, defend their more egoic nature, could be more worldly focused, more competitive, more self-indulgent, like to emotionally manipulate people, maybe use their emotions more manipulatively in a relationship. Thank you for showing me the truth of who you are. I decided to be inspired by truth and love, to get out of my ego and call judgment on myself, see where I need to heal and grow and mature myself, and call judgment on some other people. And some other people, I just wish them peace and love because we're just have different ideas of the dream relationship. But whatever the case is, the high vibe people have done this inner work to know their worth and value and feel stable and secure within themselves, are motivated and inspired by themselves, within themselves, to keep moving forward. I don't want to repeat some of those lessons, I don't want to repeat some of those patterns. I've been there, I've done it, I've seen, and it helped, coming into contact with all these different people helps us get more clear of our truth, what our truth is, what our truth isn't, to learn to stand up for ourselves and know our worth and value and what we bring to the table. And either people appreciate that and value that. And sometimes what we bring to the table isn't what people like. Some people don't like to be in relationships with people who are more independent because then they can't manipulate them. And then those people don't want to keep being in a relationship with you because maybe before you were more defensive of knowing your worth and value, and people were able to be controlling and manipulative of you. Well, somewhere along the way, you did learn to know your worth and value and to stand up for yourself and your truth. And in high vibe, if it's a romantic relationship, it's supposed to be based on love. And some people don't really do love. It's kind of living more from their mind than their heart and operating from their ego and kind of indulging themselves in the relationship. Well, I want to be in a relationship with people that I can have a deep, meaningful relationship with, that, they've become independent of their more defensive nature and their fears and their insecurities and all those things, to be free of it. Less about the world and juggling the truth, that have chose, I have hope and faith and belief and love. And if it's a job, I don't want to be in a job where people are being bossy and controlling and manipulative and stubborn and prideful, and any relationship where it seems like I'm having to put in most of the work and effort and it doesn't seem just and fair and balanced. The high vibe people are done juggling the truth. I accept the truth. I accept that people who would be motivated and inspired to work together with me, if they're on the same page as me, would. And the people in my community or my workplace or whatever that are defensive to that and don't want to move forward in that way, okay, well, you have the free will to live your life the way you want. But I am inspired to change, and I am inspired within myself by truth and love. And if that's not what some people's truth are, or they're doing that with someone else, okay, I accept the truth of it. And I'm moving on, done juggling, going back and forth, trying to figure out what other people think. People are either working together with me more cooperatively in truth and love, or they're not, and I accept the truth. And the only person I can change is me, and I'm inspired by truth and love, and I'm going to keep moving forward with the people in my life who do work with me in that way, and quit investing more time, energy, and effort into the people who don't work with me together in a more just and fair and balanced and authentic and loving way. And going to take action on your truth, having a new beginning. The truth sets us free. When we learn the lesson we were meant to learn from a past experience, and if we're willing to get out of our ego and kind of wrap our brain around this game of life, that everyone, the Knight of Swords is Gemini energy of our free will, that some people's truth is they're not more independent of their ego nature or other people in their life. Okay, I accept the truth of that. I am moving on. I wish you peace and love, and I'm going to move on. And I'm going to take action to keep moving forward. I'm not willing to give up my dreams. There could have been some people that I wanted to work with, whether it's a friend or family member or romantic interest, that I would have liked us to keep moving forward together in a just and fair and balanced way. But some people have inner conflict about working together with people from love, even. Well, I would like to be in the relationship with you, but I keep juggling the truth that it should have to be love. Can't I be in the relationship with you? Don't you have inner conflict because you love me? Can't I come with you anyway and I get to keep acting the way I act? And I was like, no. If you want to keep acting that way and juggling the truth that is supposed to be about love or treating other people the way you like to be treated, then, I have inner conflict about continuing to be in a relationship with you. And I've worked through it. I've changed. I'm not in my ego about it anymore. Or maybe before I was. And, we'd all like things that we've put work and effort in to work out the way we want. But if we're putting in work and effort to move it forward in a more just, fair, authentic, balanced, loving way, and the other people, that's just not where they're at. The 10 of Wands is Sagittarius energy about higher learning and education. Just like people can take a job that they really don't have the qualifications for because there's some lessons they haven't learned in life. The same way some people can try to get in relationships with people who are more motivated and inspired by love because they want to be in relationships with people like that because it's great to be in relationships with people like that. But that's really not where they're at yet. And so then it's kind of like being in a relationship that they can try and it can seem really overwhelming that it's not, they're still like trying to be that type of person, but they're still kind of going back and forth about, do I really want to do love? That requires I be more just and fair. And it's kind of like people resisting the truth of who they are. If I like to be more defensive and I like to be more about me, but because I want this job or this relationship to work, it's kind of like going against the flow of who they really are. And eventually the other people in their life are like, I could see that you seem to be putting in work and effort, but I don't know if this is your truth. Sometimes people can make a decision out of pride and ego because something ended and they're still in their ego about the fact that something ended and they're kind of trying to communicate a message to someone in their past. Look at me, that's shadowy Leo energy that anyone can harness. Look at me, I got in a relationship with someone else. Okay, how's that going for you? Some people really don't like being single. And it really can feel overwhelming for them to be single. Everybody could like to be in friendship or relationship, but other people, it's kind of a phase of life that you have to go through where you kind of probably do drive your life off into the ditch some because just learning to enjoy your life and the friends and your family and your career and all these other things that are part of the dream that you want to have. And when there's not someone that's really, the Five of Wands can be like the competition. Sometimes some people went and got in a relationship with people who they're not kind of the same. They're kind of what drives and motivates them. isn't the same, and they might not love those people. The other people might not love them, and it can be more about the ego and the image or indulgence or not wanting to not be in a relationship. Well, it can be really hard to keep trying to maintain balance in a relationship when we get in relationships with people for the wrong reasons. And then we can get in relationships with people who, again, the Five of Wands kind of being like the competition, like, this is my truth, that's your truth. I like to live my life like this and do these kind of things. You like to live your life like this and do these kind of things. Oh, we kind of are on different pages. A more mismatched relationship. But people could have gotten in it just because they felt overwhelmed, hadn't learned to offer love to themselves, to work through their own overwhelm, to get more balance within themselves, so that when they would take action to get in a relationship, it wouldn't be more driven by, I feel I'm in my ego, or I'm defensive, or I'm overwhelmed, or I have a lot of sexual energy, or because I want to send a message to someone else. None of those are kind of good reasons to get in a relationship. But we all got those lessons to learn, and some people have learned those lessons and some other people haven't. And so some people are still doing that right now. And if they haven't learned to love and appreciate themselves and know their own worth and value, even if they're in a more mismatched relationship, they can have a really hard time getting out of it to go on their own, because then they know they've got to do this work to maintain balance within themselves and love themselves and believe in themselves. And kind of, that's how I view High Vibe Leo, is giving yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. And the King and the Queen of Wands would be a counterpart, kind of like, emotionally, I need to do this work within myself. And the masculine energies cards can just represent us and our more worldly nature. I need to stand up for myself. And I need to stand up for my more loving, hopeful, believing nature, while I emotionally do this work within myself to free myself from things that manipulate me, to become more independent and know my worth and value and love and believe in myself, so that I don't repeat some poor past patterns. Because I've already been there and done that, and I know it doesn't work out the way I want. And even though it can feel overwhelming, I'm going to keep focused on the big picture, and that's like High Vibe Aquarius. I'm going to keep things in perspective. I'm going to keep looking at the bigger picture. I'm going to keep things in perspective. I'm going to keep, and High Vibe Virgo is, I'm going to keep taking those slow, steady steps forward. Might be 3 steps back, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. But I'm going to keep focused on moving forward and being like a good mother, father, coach voice to ourselves, being loving and encouraging and supportive to ourselves as we go through a difficult period of time in our life. And as we do that, we will see over time that we have changed and we've dropped some of the burden, and that we do feel more balanced within ourselves, and we feel less like we're maybe going back and forth. And over time, the Five of Wands comes after the Four of Wands, which is also Aries energy, like the King of Wands, which is Aries energy, is about the self, that eventually over time we do feel more inspired and balanced within ourselves. But it does take work and effort, and it can take a lot of work and effort. But great reward takes great effort. But because it takes a lot of effort, that's why some, are kind of our shadow nature, kind of represented by the devil at the big picture, is we'd like to feel better now. And so then we can give up. And we go back to juggling and we keep having this inner conflict within ourselves, but we keep kind of going back and forth between being in our ego and being defensive and wanting to feel better now. But, the devil lies. It's just a short term kind of gratification of feeling better, right? And so it's like, no, I need to keep, and the more life experience you've had at that, the better you get at it. It's just like muscle memory, And so the people who've had more experience at it, even though they feel overwhelmed, they know that if I go repeat some poor past patterns, I'm going to end up where I was. And that could have been, I don't want to do that. So no matter how hard it is, I don't want to repeat some patterns, and I don't want to be in relationships with people who are bossy or controlling or juggle the truth or competitive or manipulative. I'm going to keep moving forward. And as they do, then the tens can be that people complete a cycle, which is also what the world can talk about. I'm done going back and forth about it. I've gotten clear about my truth. And through this process, I have changed. And I'm now operating more from a foundation of truth and love within myself. And it could be even that we were defensive and harsh and critical with our own inner voice, because Aquarius, I view it also as being represented by the Queen of Swords, where we could have belittled and berated ourselves, and, we got the whole world that can criticize us, that why be one of the people who be loving and encouraging? We have free will in our Gemini nature. We can either align with our more worldly competitive energy and let our more immature egoic nature manipulate us and control us, or we can work through those things that control us and manipulate us and stand up for ourselves that I do deserve love, and it starts with me. And I am going to take action to be inspired within myself to love me. And I am going to work through those things that overwhelm me to free myself from them by offering truth and love to it. The more shadowy you can be, the more defensive you can be to being willing to deal with the truth, because we're kind of in our pride and ego. I don't want to see the truth of where I need to change. We could know people that were hurtful and unkind, but we got in a relationship with them and we stayed in a relationship with them. Why? There's always going to be hurtful, unkind, bossy, controlling, manipulative people in the world. I need to see what it is within me that made me get in a relationship with them and stay in a relationship with them for as long as I did, because I don't want to do that again. And partly it could be that I was kind of more defensive of being more independent and maybe standing up for myself. I could have been someone and can be someone who's very loving and encouraging to other people. And I keep thinking other people will change. And I maybe didn't want to see the truth when I met some people, because I could have wanted friendship, a job, a relationship. And I maybe didn't listen to my intuition. And people could have showed me that, oh, by the way, I'm kind of competitive, oh, I'm kind of manipulative, oh, I'm kind of immature, oh, I'm kind of bossy and controlling, I'm kind of defensive. I have a lot of things that manipulate me, that make me act the way I act. But, shadowy energy can be wanting to stay in denial of the truth. And if you're a very loving and encouraging person, motivated and inspired by love, you can think everybody else is motivated and inspired by that. But for some people, it's kind of like, no, but I'd like to indulge in a relationship with you, but it will be me more indulging in it. And I might never quit juggling and the truth that it should be love. And you're going to get in a relationship with me, and then you're going to have inner conflict that you feel like I'm more emotionally manipulating you. Because the truth is, I don't invest in love. I'm kind of more about me and indulging in a relationship, but I don't really do love. And then you're going to want to get out of the relationship with me. But until you want to see the truth of it and you keep thinking I'll change and that I'll quit being defensive and I'll quit being more bossy or controlling or manipulative or, and some people just want to be single and they don't want to be in a more committed relationship. Well, because they have inner conflict about love and being in a more committed relationship, you know? And other people, they want to be in those kind of relationships. So, willing to see the truth now when you meet people. If people show you they're kind of defensive and kind of manipulative or bossy or controlling or immature, it's like, thank you for showing me who you are. And I'm going to keep moving on, even though I might have some inner conflict because you're cute or attractive or, if it's just to get to know somebody better, to just be friends with them. I've already kind of seen that you're kind of difficult to get along with. And no thanks. I think I'll go on my way. And I'm going to focus more of my time and attention on the people in my life who aren't more difficult to deal with, who aren't more bossy or controlling or manipulative or whatever, right? Because when we don't invest, we can be loving and encouraging people to everyone and treat everybody the way we like to be treated. But I'm not going to invest more time and energy into people who've already shown me that they have a problem working together with people in a more just and fair and balanced and loving way. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to go invest more of my time, energy, and effort into the people who have shown me that they don't have a problem working together with people that way. And there could be some people in your life that see that you're not going back and forth about them anymore. And from the Nine of Pentacles down to the Two of Pentacles is the difference, is the Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles could have been some people that at one time you did invest in or you were considering investing more time, energy, and effort into. And now you've moved on. It's like, no, I am not interested to continue to invest more time, energy, and effort. I have picked up my investment. There's been enough going on maybe of interacting with you or being in relationship with you that I'm clear about my truth. And the truth is that we have different ideas of what we think is just and fair in a relationship. And because of that, some people could feel overwhelmed and have a lot of inner conflict because, again, when people were in a friendship or relationship with you, they had the free will to kind of do this work within themselves. Like, why am I being in competitive energy with them? And if you've been in a relationship with someone who's kind of more competitive, especially if it's a romantic relationship, you are like the competition that they need to defeat. And it's like, I'm supposed to be someone that you're working with for a common goal out of love. But sometimes they don't like that you are either more authentically who you say you are, because shadowy energy can be where people are trying to kind of create an illusion that maybe they're more of a just, fair, authentic, loving person, stable, grounded, or whatever, than they really are. And then if you do some work within yourself to kind of be more stable, grounded, and authentic, and balanced, and loving within yourself, then it can get them in more competitive energy because you kind of really are, that's high vibe Leo, and I suppose high vibe Aquarius. You really are who you say you are. And you did that work to not create an illusion, not operating more from your mind than your heart or your ego or for how it benefits you, but you authentically are being loving and encouraging and for some of you, that meant that you changed, that, maybe before you had more things that manipulated you, you could have been more overwhelmed, you didn't know your worth and value, and we can be in friendships and relationships with people, and during the course of that friendship or relationship over time, you kind of change because you did that work within yourself, and then those people don't like it because now you could want a more just and fair relationship where maybe before, maybe you kind of indulged them more in their poor behavior or being more about them, but you didn't care really if it was kind of more about them because you loved them and you wanted the relationship to keep moving forward and you didn't think it was important. But the thing is, when someone's being kind of shadowy, it can kind of be like an addiction where it kind of gets worse and worse over time. And if some people know that you're a loving and encouraging person, they can kind of get spoiled in it. And they like that you kind of indulge them in that way. And then they could think that they don't really have to put in as much work and effort. And then you're putting in most of the work and effort to keep the relationship moving forward in a way that seems just and fair and stable and balanced and loving. But eventually you start to feel like I am putting in most of the work and effort, and it feels like the other person's kind of indulging in it. And I kind of wonder, if I didn't keep putting in work and effort into it, would they even put in work and effort? And then when you kind of decide you do want it to be more just and fair, and you kind of change and you're not indulging them as much or pursuing them as much to keep maintaining the relationship or the friendship, well, then those people might have to put in more work and effort to keep the relationship going. And then they could just decide that they don't want to do that anymore. And really, that was maybe kind of the truth of it to begin with, or eventually over time, that kind of became the truth. And then you see kind of who's willing to equally put in work and effort and who's not. And if they're not, and then they can be mad because you changed. They can be mad that you wanted it to be a more just and fair relationship when maybe before you were willing to indulge them more in their shadowy ways of being, or their bossy ways, or their manipulative ways. And they didn't really want to do a more just and fair and balanced relationship. So, you kind of work through the confusion and letting that relationship go also, because if they're willing to let it go and not willing to put in the work and effort, well, then I guess, we completed a cycle. And I think high vibe people would focus on, everybody could have been at one point kind of loving and encouraging of each other during a phase of life that we were in. But then as we complete a phase of life, how people want to move forward in their life can be different. And I think the high vibe people offer love to it, to take the lessons that they learned, how they both could have helped each other through a phase of life and be grateful for that phase of life, and the support and encouragement they did receive while they were in it. And they're able to make peace with it and let it go. But the people who might kind of know, even though they might not like to admit it, that maybe we're a little more bossy or controlling or immature or competitive or indulging in it, might have more of a problem with it and kind of be more in their ego about it because they don't want to see the truth that they maybe weren't willing to put in the work and effort to equally be more just and fair and authentic and loving in the relationship, and that they did kind of operate out of their ego or immaturity or defensiveness or something. And some of those people, will then maybe still not want to see the truth, but they then might go repeat that same pattern with someone else. And again, until you know, we go through some experiences where we're kind of finally willing to see, like, oh, this doesn't work out the way I want. Am I willing to see the truth of where I maybe need to change? And then if they change, then, people can decide. I think high vibe people are willing to get out of their ego, to admit they had lessons to learn. And when they learn some of those lessons in life, they're willing to admit they're a fallible human being who had lessons to learn, willing to reach out to people if they got out of friendships or relationships with people, to speak their truth and love to those people. Those people have their free will to decide if they want to reconnect or not, or get back in friendships or relationships or not. Then the high vibe people accept whatever those people decide. There are consequences to our actions. But the more stubborn someone is to admit that maybe they had some lessons to learn, or some pride, or some ego, or immaturity, or defensiveness, they probably will keep defending and have inner conflict about the truth. And I think it'll keep causing problems in their relationships. And if other people are okay with them being that way, or willing to indulge them that way, that's that person's lesson to learn from them. And they have their free will to live their life whatever way they want. You just know it wasn't for you. And you've made peace with it. And it's up to the next people in their life to decide if they want to stay in that job, friendship, or relationship and are okay with that or not. But I think high vibe people have spoken their truth to people, that they've learned some lessons in life. They've closed out an old cycle. They've become more independent of their more defensive nature, or worldly, or egoic nature. And they're having this new beginning, kind of like, who wants to move forward with me in this way? And when they left and got out of some jobs, friendships, and relationships, they could have invested in a new job, friendship, or relationship. And then, it's the people that are in that environment. And now the high vibe people have grown and matured themselves. I'm going to treat other people the way I like to be treated, work through my fears, work through my insecurities, work through my defensiveness, or whatever it could be. Listen to my intuition about the different people in whatever new situation that I'm in. Don't stay in denial of the truth. When other people show me they're more in shadowy energy, I'm going to kind of keep my distance from them. The people who have learned some of the same lessons I've learned are more of the people I'm going to invest in. And, if you have more high vibe people around you, the high vibe people could defend you against people who are more shadowy in whatever it is, the workplace, a friend group, an organization, in a community or something, right? Because that's their truth too. And the more shadowy people will be defensive to you, because they can see that they can't manipulate you or control you or intimidate you or whatever, and they don't like that, or they don't like that you know your worth and value, and that you are who you say you are. And they, again, know that they try to manipulate or control people, or would like to be the next person, friendship or romantic, to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. And you're more clear about your truth now, less defensive of knowing your worth and value, less tempted in your ego, and you're investing in living your truth. And there'll be other people, maybe that or in that environment, that could have felt overwhelmed. Sometimes in any situation, there's the people who are a little more shadowy, the people who are a little more just fair, loving, and encouraging. Some people who are in an environment, some of the people of the environment that you went to were kind of, could have felt really overwhelmed, like, trying to offer love and encouragement to people, but, they were the minority and having to deal with people where it was really overwhelming to deal with them. And then when you come on the scene, it's just like, oh my gosh, someone who's more on the same page as me, And then sometimes the energy of an environment can shift because more people are aligned with being more just, fair, balanced, and loving, where the scales before could have been more tipped in favor of kind of the more immature, bossy, or shadowy kind of people being the predominant people in it. And then it can change the balance of environment. And for some people where it has been a shadowy environment, which could be some of the places that you left, they can all feel overwhelmed when some of the more loving and encouraging people or just fair balanced people leave, because now they're left behind with the people who are more kind of shadowy. But until whoever has more power and authority in the situation is willing to stand up for a more just and fair and balanced place, the more shadowy people will kind of run the show, or the family dynamic, or the friendship group, right? But I think as you're moving forward, it looks like, you're choosing to stand in your truth, and there will be other people that are aligned with your truth in how they like to get along with people, and other people will be upset about it. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? The King of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Empress energy. Why? Because of the Queen of Cups. So in the Queen of Cups, it means the queens can talk about how we think and feel. The masculine energy cards can talk about how we're presenting ourselves in the world and action that we're taking. High vibe people offered love to the situation. They're inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness and acting with character and integrity. And so they offered love to the situation. They offered truth and love and encouragement to people in their life. And if some people in their life harness this energy in a more shadowy way, you saw the truth of it. And you decided to give birth. That's what the Empress can talk about. Like emotionally, I want to give birth to something new. And if I offered truth and love and encouragement to people to move forward with me, to work through their fears or their insecurities or their self-learning beliefs, and that's not their truth, then I wish you peace, but I am going to invest in my truth and invest more of my time, energy, and effort into people who I believe are in that energy. And as you move forward in that energy, staying focused on truth, love, balance, justice, fairness, acting with character and integrity, other people know that you could have taken action more out of defensiveness, more out of lust, greed, pride, ego, fear, codependency, and they see that you're not doing that. And some of those people, of course, know they could do that too. And some of those people are going to say, no, this is who I want to invest in. This is a person I want to work with more, invest more time, energy, and effort into, versus some of the other people. And it's kind of like getting people who are more on the same page in friendship and relationship and workplaces, and kind of getting away from some of the people in your life who your truth was different, So I think you're going to have a new beginning to get the justice you deserve, because you were inspired by love to get justice, and you took action in truth and love to get that justice. And again, some people in your life are like, nope, that's not my truth. Okay, I wish you peace and love. I'm going to go invest in people who that is their truth. What's coming up for some people who harness some shadowy, worldly Aquarius energy that they don't see coming? The Empress. Why? Because of the Two of Swords. So the Two of Swords, kind of like the Two of Pentacles, can be where people kind of go back and forth and, again, might want to stay in denial of the truth. Shadowy Empress in Libra Taurus energy can be that some people are either still more about, I think it's just and fair to get in a relationship for some of these reasons other than love. The other way it could be read is some people are kind of in denial of the truth that they kind of like to be indulged in a relationship, but they don't want to see the truth that, again, it's like to get in a relationship, and it might be because it, of how it kind of could benefit everyone to different degrees, but they kind of think that it should be a little bit more about them, and that can be shadowy Aquarius also. Everybody else should put aside their pride and ego in this relationship, but not me. I'm like the star of the show, or I'm the most important person. And so then they think they should be indulged in a relationship. Just like they could kind of indulge themselves in their more defensive, egoic, immature, kind of full of themselves, competitive nature. Maybe Aquarius being air sign energy, living more from the mind than the heart. And anybody can harness shadowy Aquarius energy, because we harness all the zodiac sign traits in a more high vibe, worldly, or shadowy way. Can just be people who like to live more from their mind than their heart, and they think they're smart enough to think, I don't really have to do love because I have conflict about doing love. Because then I would have to call judgment, like on my more defensive, egoic nature, and I'd have to become independent of it, and I'd have to move away from being more inspired by that nature to get more balance within myself and be more inspired to work together with people more cooperatively from love. And that's a whole philosophy change. And some people just keep thinking, no, I can just create the illusion I'm more just and fair and stable and grounded and loving. But the problem is they get in relationships with people, and other people kind of listen to their intuition. You can kind of tell when someone is authentically who they are. They're loving. People who are loving, your cup of love can overflow. It doesn't mean it overflows with everyone in the world. Other people in the world are just social acquaintances. But the people that you're really in relationship with, your cup of love can overflow for them because you know how to fill your own cup emotionally. And you freely give to others, and other people are much more defensive of freely giving of themselves to others. And shadowy energy can be more selfish. And again, I don't like to freely give of myself because that's like, and it's a kind of a weird thing to kind of wrap your brain around, but it's kind of more about them. And some people are really kind of in their ego of really kind of more giving to people of themselves more authentically. And maybe because they're really afraid and would be in their ego, I guess, if it didn't work out the way they wanted. I think you should be proud of yourself that you acted with character and integrity, were authentic and loving. You gave everything to the highest degree that you could. And you could be proud of yourself. And that's what some people are saying. I am proud of myself that I acted in truth and love with some people. I'm not upset that I humbled myself, if you want to look at it that way. But I think some shadowy people look at it that way. Because my pride and ego wasn't the thing. I wanted this to work out. And I'm proud of myself that I know I did everything I could. And if it didn't work out the way I wanted, then I'm going to take my good traits, qualities, and characteristics with me to the next relationship I go into. And they can take their traits and characteristics into the next relationship they go into. Again, some people kind of want to be indulged, like, they either want to play the role of like a loving person in someone's life, but they want that person to keep being codependent on them. Or they want to be in a relationship with someone where they can be more immature and someone love them like a parent would a child and stay codependent with them. And they're in denial of that. Or some of them are full of themselves and they think, oh my goodness, I am single. People should want to be in a relationship with me. And then people can get in a relationship with them and they don't understand why people have a problem staying in a relationship with them, because they seem to be in denial that they're kind of full of themselves and it should be more about them. And they'd rather be in relationships with people who are more encouraging, authentic, and loving, and just and fair. And if people, the Empress can talk about in shadowy energy, and it can be a male or a female, everybody can present themselves whatever way they want, but how do they think and feel? And some people think, well, because I have a certain status, image, social clout, money, attractiveness, charming, I look like I have justice in the world, people should want to be in a relationship with me. And so people can get in a relationship with them, and other people know that you could look like that too, but you're not willing to get in a relationship with just anyone. And other people is practically, well, who's willing to be in a relationship with me? So long as we get along good enough, that's good enough for me. And is it good for my ego and my image and my status? Okay. Well, that could be someone who's just indulging themselves in a relationship. Has inner conflict about love anyway. That's not why I get in a relationship. It's more about how it benefits me. And other people, that's not how they think. If it's not based on truth and love, I don't want to get in a romantic relationship with someone. I'm not in it more for the ego or the image or the status. And I don't want to be a parent to someone. I don't want someone to be like a parent to me. High vibe energy is being independent. That's the Nine of Pentacles. I have my own unique aspirations and dreams. I do not want to repeat a pattern where I feel like I'm a child to a parent figure again. I am my own individual. I want an equally balanced relationship. I respect them as their own individual with their own dreams and aspirations. I want to be respected as an individual with my own dreams and aspirations. And some people don't like that. No, you're supposed to make your life all about me. You're supposed to have inner conflict about loving and believing in yourself and being more independent. And I don't want to be with more independent people. I want to be in a relationship with some people who are overwhelmed at being single and have inner conflict about loving and believing in themselves. And if you're in that energy, yeah, I'm going to try to get you in a relationship with me and get you to keep staying in it for as long as it works for me. But since I'm not in a relationship for love, if someone else comes along, if you start to become too independent or love and believe in yourself, or if I'm more driven by money and status and image, and I'm not sure this might have all the enough stability and security and love and abundance, but what I'm really driven by is to have more. If someone comes along who seems to have more, I'll go get in a relationship with them, because really, it was really more just about me anyway, or it was really more about the ego or the image or the money or someone indulging me. You know, that's like an unstable foundation because it's not built on love. And the problem is, the more high vibe people will leave their life, and some of these people could get end up being in relationships and people they more align with are people who defend their more worldly, egoic, competitive view of life, who have inner conflict about being more authentic and loving also. But then they can feel stuck in those relationships because everybody isn't being more authentic. It's more superficial and shallow and in it for how it benefits them and more about the ego and the image than love. And then they have people who are willing to stay in a relationship with them for those reasons, but then they're in a relationship with someone who can be more like themselves, and they don't really like being in a relationship with someone more like themselves because they like it to be more about them. And then it can be someone that they kind of have to do, again, you're either doing, kind of having to balance things out and do equal give and take with people who are loving, who want you to get out of your defensive nature and maybe grow up and mature yourself, but they didn't want to do that. So now they're having to try to balance things out and do equal give and take with someone who isn't really motivated by love, but it does have these things of the world, and really because some of those things of the world more manipulate them, they have a harder time getting out of it. And so they get in a relationship that could look very stable and abundant and successful, but it's kind of like they have all those things of the world, but they don't have a more authentic, loving relationship where they can be more authentically themselves, and the other people, nobody can be more authentically themselves, because for some people, they don't like that. No, everybody has to hide behind their ego nature, present this illusion about what their life is like. If you become more independent, kind of see through the illusion and want to be more independent, we won't want to keep being in a relationship with you because you are inspired to invest in the truth and love yourself. And we really haven't learned to love ourselves. And so we don't want you around because it kind of causes inner conflict within us about why we don't love and believe in ourselves to live our more authentic life. And so the people they end up ultimately aligning with are people who present themselves as loving, but everybody has this inner conflict because everybody's kind of emotionally manipulating the truth that it really isn't love. It's using their emotions manipulatively for everybody to view each other as these just and fair and loving people, even though people aren't being authentic. But because everybody has a problem being more authentically themselves and becoming independent of these people, because they're either codependent on them or because of the money or the image or the status, they keep staying in it. So they keep feeling stuck, and the other people keep giving birth to something new because they keep working through those issues and shedding things that manipulate them to keep being free to live their more authentic life from love instead of fear and codependency and pride or ego or defensiveness. There you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.